Welcome to Late Reviews, and I'm here with my last video on Michael J. White. So I did film all of these videos back to back, so I've been talking about a lot of Michael J. White at this point when you're seeing me in this video, and I might be a bit exhausted and maybe referring to a lot of the videos I already watched, so in case you're a bit confused about what I'm saying, about the references I make, maybe you should watch my Michael J. White reviews in order, at least if you're interested in seeing more or less a full review of his filmography, of his career, sort of, not complete review, but I do get into a lot of his movies. That's it. Without further ado, let's get started with the finale of talking about Michael J. White. This next movie might kill me. There's a lot to unpack here. Black Friday 2021. I will go into spoiler territory. Not that there is that much to spoil, but I will spoil things about certain characters in the movie that are relevant for especially talking about it as a Michael J. White movie. When I saw that I would see a movie with both Bruce Campbell and Michael J. White in it, I was hooked. And it started out well. I don't even know if these are practical effects or if they are CGI or a mix, but the effects in this movie generally look amazing. A few times it looks shitty, but mostly it looks amazing. Amazing for such a small budget movie, especially. Very quickly, the plot. It takes place in a toy store on Black Friday. You're following these different people working in the toy store, all with their different backgrounds, of course. And the store opens, and as the store opens, this zombie alien outbreak breaks out. And that's it. Not exactly a siege movie, but the rest of the film takes place in this shop. Simple premise. I like the premise. I like the concept. Okay, that's actually it. That's the plot. Now let's dive into it. It would seem that the movie has two main protagonists. It has this young guy who has to leave his family, not enjoy Thanksgiving with them, to work in this store where he has worked his ass off, thinking, he wants to be recognized. He wants maybe to earn a career in this place. He wants to be the employee of the month and he feels like nobody's recognizing him. Yeah, his work goes unappreciated, basically. The other lead protagonist is this woman who has also worked there for quite a while. Even though she's quite young, this very capable, almost boss lady of the place. For a while, I actually thought she was the manager, which she isn't. She just has the balls of a manager. Then we have different characters. Some of them are in it for long, some of them are not for not that long. And then we have Bruce Campbell playing the general manager of the store. And they all have their different quirks. I think one big issue is most of the characters are very one-dimensional. Some are a bit more fleshed out. There is one guy who is this, just to quote the movie, he is this too cool for school guy, a guy who still behaves, he's in his 40s, still behaves as if it's high school. He has these children he's not seeing and he's hitting on these young girls, but he's also a bit pathetic. He's also has no career. He's working in this toy store and has no future prospects. He's a bit more than one-dimensional. He also ends up sacrificing himself for the good of the group, so at least that is cool. Okay, sure, Bruce Campbell is also playing a very one-dimensional character. He's this creep asshole who himself describes the reason for working in retail is that he can tell people what to do and people have to laugh at his jokes and he can just mistreat people. And he loves it. It seems that he loves it because actually he is a very sorry person who has nothing really to live for. And I do like Bruce Campbell can play that kind of role. I just think this is not really the best role I've seen him in. Far from it. I think he is giving it the most. I don't think he's giving it all, and I could have seen more. There are some stupid decisions revolving around him. This is a difficult movie to talk about because, yes, it is an alien invasion movie. It's a zombie movie where the effects are really good. I mean, the monsters look amazing. They are different types of evolvement or development or whatever. They're growing these almost beaks as mouths. They have their skin all distorted, and to zombify someone else, they're spreading out this slimy web, almost cobweb thing, and then getting into the mouth of the victim, and that corrupts them. Although sometimes it seems that something else actually makes someone become a zombie, which is a bit weird, not that consistent. Also, there seems to be no consistency in why someone becomes different kinds of zombies than others. So yes, it's one of those movies without rules. I don't like that. I want rules in my movies. I want, that there's one monster that is way better, way more developed than the rest, way more capable. And you might think, okay, that's the first person who was infected with a zombie virus. But no, it's one of the last people to be affected by it. And one of the oldest and most incapable people. But still, it looks cool. The fights are generally cool. The effects are generally cool. But where the movie fails is everything else. It is a comedy horror. And especially in the first 20 minutes of the movie, it really tries to be a comedy. It really tries hard. And then for the rest of the movie, it mostly forgets it's supposed to be a comedy horror. And not that I have a problem with that, because the humor in this movie is awful. It is really some of the worst comedy I've seen in a very long time. There is this one character who's quickly written out of the movie, Anita. I think she's supposed to be a manager, I'm not really sure. And she just keeps yelling at people. She's a terrible person towards everyone, and you just want her to die. And I think that's one thing that a lot of modern movies don't really get, that in these movies where people die, you do have some people you have to write in a way where you want them to die, make the audience want them to die, but also you can't have everybody being like that. And this movie has most people are terrible. You can't really root for many people in the movie. The problem is, yes, okay, you want her to die and you want to have a reason for her to die, but you still have so many insufferable scenes. It's also one of those movies that thinks it's funny to have old people saying naughty things.
So more like consensual fuck partners.
It's not funny seeing old people saying naughty things. That stopped being funny 20 years ago, if it ever was funny. It's not just a comedy. I mean, there's so many things to pick up on in this movie that's bad, but it's not just a comedy and so many other things of it, but the editing and the pacing of this movie is all over the place. I often thought I had been missing scenes, just because it often doesn't explain how you get from one place to the other. Someone might be attacked by a zombie in one place, and then the next scene shows them in another place surrounded by people, not showing how it went from one place to the other, from one scene to the next. It has some people being attacked and then magically escaping and then appearing somewhere else, and then there are no more enemies around them. Or zombies appearing from one place in another, suddenly magically. It's just, the geography is all over the place. There's no reasoning behind how anything really happens in the movie. No real reason to explain why the monsters act the way they act or how they should develop. There are no rules in the movie. It's just lazy in that sense. But then you have these good effects. Like, the effects are good. There are some good chases in it. There are some good attacks, monster attacks. And then it has bad things again, like how it has Michael J. White in it. One of the only good things in the movie, and the movie kills him off less than half an hour into the movie. Couldn't they afford him to have him longer? Is it because he's such a capable person that having him in the movie would remove obstacles? And even the way they kill him, they have the goal to have him disappear from screen, hear a yell, and then you see something drip down on the floor. In 99% of movies, it means he's not dead. When you don't see someone die on camera, they normally don't die in movies. This movie, he dies. I kept thinking he would show up at the end, but no, he just dies. You don't see him die. Actually, you don't actually see him die. You see his guts drop on the floor. Such a weird decision. It feels like the people who made this movie somehow knew how to make effects, but hadn't seen other movies and didn't know how movies work. It has people doing random things just because it has to forward the plot. It has to increase kill counts so people do stupid things. It has people just, again, to create tension. They say stupid things and do terrible things, which they definitely shouldn't do at the moment, especially because in earlier scenes they've been shown to be smarter than they suddenly are in that scene. And it's just full of that. This movie is full of shit. That's what I have to say about the movie. It was very frustrating to see a movie with good monster design and some good kills and horror scenes be corrupted by bad writing, bad editing, bad pacing, and terrible comedy. There was so much potential in this, and it was all flushed down the toilet. It's not a good movie. I really wish I could enjoy this more. I was having very high hopes going into this, and it's just not a good movie.
This is bullshit even for you.
There is one more movie I wanted to talk about. It's not really that relevant to bring up. I did come across one short film from Michael J. White called Mortal Kombat Rebirth from, I think, 2012. And it's actually very well made. It's just Michael J. White being this FBI guy who is talking to someone whom you don't know. He's hidden, and then he will be revealed after everything has been presented to him. It's live action, so all these different Mortal Kombat characters doing things like how they're serial killers in real life. And it's honestly just very cool. It's a very cool concept. And then right when you think the movie's about to start, it ends. Because yes, it's a short, but it's a very short. It's less than 10 minutes. So I was really hooked on seeing where this would go, and it doesn't go anywhere. So it's just a cock tease. And therefore, I can't really recommend it to you. I don't know, maybe I can recommend it. It's kind of cool. Maybe watch it. It's
Reptile.
That was a lot of movies. I'm worn out. I've been talking about movies for almost 3 hours now, and I'm still missing something. There's still one movie I haven't brought up. And I wish I had the energy. I wish I had the enthusiasm that this movie deserves. That I hadn't ruined my mood by talking about all these bad movies. That I hadn't exhausted myself yelling and ranting about Freaky Deaky, Black Friday, Vigilante Diaries. Because this last movie with Michael J. White is what set all this off. One of my favorite movies of all time. Black Dynamite, 2009. Really, before going into it, I will say that yes, I'm aware that this essentially is not just a blaxploitation film, but a blaxploitation parody, and especially a film that parodies the movies of Rudy Ray Moore. The movie essentially steals from Dolemite, it steals from Human Tornado, and it steals from Disco Godfather. And when I say steal, I mean it actually takes scenes from those movies and recreates them. It's not a problem, but the reason why I'm bringing it up is I watched Black Dynamite maybe 10 times before I watched any of the other blaxploitation movies I just mentioned. To me, Black Dynamite felt very fresh when I watched it. I knew the genre it was parodying, but I didn't know the movies it was borrowing heavily and being heavily inspired by. And I understand if you have seen all those movies and then watch Black Dynamite, it might be more of a tame experience because actually you have seen all these things before, or most of them before. Black Dynamite does have things that definitely are not those other movies, but it does have a lot of scenes taken from them. Of course, it also shows that it's a love letter, so even if you have seen the other movies, you might end up liking Black Dynamite even more than if you hadn't seen them, just because you see how it's actually a love letter to this blaxploitation genre. I'm not even sure what to say about this movie because it's a movie that deserves so much.
So grab onto your seats and hang on tight while I tell you a story about Black Dynamite.
I guess I'll give you very little, because this is a video where I just talk about movies that you should watch, or that you shouldn't watch, starring Michael J. White. Black Dynamite is his magnum opus.
Now this is some heavy shit.
Black Dynamite shows his prowess as a martial artist and as a comedic actor. It is because Black Dynamite is so amazingly funny that I don't understand why he's not given more comedy roles, because he excels in them.
Who the hell is interrupting my kung fu?
As I brought up with Undercover Brother 2, the first few minutes where he's the only actor in it before his brother shows up, Michael J. White is amazing. He has insane comedic talent. He's just not normally allowed to shine in the roles. And of course, there are movies where he's supposed to be funny and where he isn't. But I think that's more due to the script and the direction he's given, because he has shown to be a very, very funny guy. I want him in more funny movies. And the older he gets, the less of a martial artist he can be. So just give him more funny roles. He's really good in them. And if you're doubting my words in any way, watch Black Dynamite.
The worst thing about these pushers getting these children addicted to this new smack is that these children are orphans, and orphans don't have parents.
I will really not say much about this movie other than it's insanely quotable. It is taking place in the 70s. Black Dynamite is an ex-special ops Vietnam War veteran who has worked for the CIA.
Freeze turkeys!
Dynamite! Dynamite!
And is now living in the LA ghettos, trying to help his local African-American community fight the man, fight crime, fight drugs, while he's actually also a pimp himself who is insanely good at martial art. And it's just a love letter to the 70s. It is spoofing and making fun of a lot of the things from the 70s, fun of a Richard Nixon, of Chinese kung fu movies, of the Black Panther Party, of the whole blaxploitation genre, of vanity projects, of promiscuous characters, lead protagonists of these movies. It is making fun of all of it, and is doing it exceedingly well. And I guess I'll not ruin any of your experience with it. Maybe I'll make a dedicated video to Black Dynamite someday. Maybe I won't, because Black Dynamite is one of the best movies out there, and that's all you need to know before going into it. It's also, one more thing I'll say. It's one of those movies where I have never shown it to anyone who didn't like it. A lot of the movies I really like a lot. Other people don't necessarily love them as much as I do. And I definitely don't think that people love Black Dynamite as much as I do. But I never had anyone who had a bad experience with it. I showed it to some people who said, oh yeah, it's a good movie, but I wouldn't watch it again. That's fine. But they enjoyed the time they had with it. So it is one of those movies I can give a very, very, very high recommendation to. Really, if you have any kind of interest or love or passion for not just Michael J. White, but blaxploitation, watch Black Dynamite. For those things, it's as good as it gets. And now I'm totally exhausted. I hope you enjoyed my video. I know that I might have lost the plot a few times, it wears me out talking about bad movies this much. I want to talk about good movies. I want to find good movies to share. I mean, these movies, I didn't know what I was getting into, and I didn't know that so many of them wouldn't be good. It saddens me. It really saddens me that so many of the movies that Michael J. White is in are not good. I really wish that his future career will become excellent, because he deserves it. He has the talent for it. I really hope he gets a bigger breakthrough now in his later years than he has had in his earlier years. Bye.
Innocents to be defended. Black Dynamite will be there, delivering ass whoopings. And I will not hesitate to lay the hammer down on any clown that comes around. Because if they want to fight, they best come see me. 'Cause I'm Black Dynamite.
Dynamite! Dynamite!